When are we getting the Silent King? I answer this and more in this month's Q&A. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, it's time for another Q&A. This is the series of videos where I answer your questions from the previous video. And I've got some great questions to answer in this one. Before that though, if you would like to keep up to date with the wonders of Warhammer 40k, then please give me a sub and hit the bell button so you don't miss an upload. Okay, so before we go into the questions that you asked me, I've got a question for you. I would love to know what is your most favourite and your least favourite Warhammer 40k army. If you could let me know in the comments box below, I'd really love to hear that. For me, my most favourite is Necrons and my least favourite is Imperial Guards. I'd love to know what your answer is. For now though, let's get on with the questions you asked me. Okay, so the first question is from Warzone Morloc 40k Battles, and he says, what is your perfect Sunday? Okay, so this is quite a good question because I actually work at the weekends. I actually work on a Sunday. Now I have quite a nice routine for Sunday because even though I'm working, it's quite a short day. So my routine is I get up at my usual time, around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then I would do about an hour and a half of hobby before I leave for work. And then on the way to work I usually stop off and I have breakfast, usually at Greggs, sometimes at McDonald's. Then I get to work, as I said, it's quite a short day. When I've finished, I come home and I spend time with my daughter, with Necron Girl. We usually have a bit of a cuddle up, a sofa night. We usually watch films or a series of some description. We're watching Supergirl at the moment, which actually is pretty good. However, if I wasn't at work, and sometimes I do take the day off, it's usually to play 40k. So I suppose arguably my ideal Sunday would be to play 40k. Okay, so the next question is from Joshua Graum, and he says, which army do you fear the most when you play Necrons? This is a good question because I haven't played against too many different armies. It used to be Grey Knights. I used to have trouble with Grey Knights because they were pretty good at shooting and pretty good in close combat. They also teleported right in my face, and Necrons had a few problems there with the assault where they used to have initiative, etc. So Grey Knights would have been my answer. I think now, although I've not actually faced them yet, I think I'm pretty nervous about facing a big Imperial Knight based army, you know, that 5 or 6 Imperial Knight army. And I think I'm going to see quite a few of those armies probably at the tournament, which I'm going to later this year. So it's going to be interesting. Okay, so the next question is from Callum Bigall, and he says, as most of the demons have had big new models, isn't it about time we got a new big Catan model? So, if we were to get new Catan models that were Titan sized, who would you like to see, or who would you like to see updated? Also, are Catans worth using? Okay, a great question. So first of all, are Catans worth using? Absolutely. I mean, the powers of the Catan are effectively our psychic powers, except it's very difficult for anyone to deny them. I think, although the Nightbringer is usable, probably the Deceiver is the go-to one, and maybe the T Catan as well, especially where you can augment things like his invulnerable save down to 3+. That is very useful. Now, should we get new Catans? Well, absolutely. I'm going to sip my coffee. We definitely should have new Catans, and I've said this for some time. Obviously we do have the new Forge World unit which is coming out, which looks pretty awesome, but it's no Catan, is it? I would love to see more Catans. My instant reaction would be the Void Dragon. However, I have a model that I've made into the Void Dragon, so I don't necessarily think I want to see that released. I think I'd like to see other Catan models, maybe even a new Catan. And if it's going to be a lot bigger than the current Catan shards, then wouldn't it be great if we just had literally a proper Star Guard, a proper Catan? I think that would be awesome, but what do you think? Okay, so the next question is from DaSwolfy, and he says, you've said before how you're not much into competitive, But with the new Codex out, would you consider going to maybe a small local? If so, would you be willing to cover your experience and make some videos covering your performance? Absolutely, you've probably already seen it, but if you haven't, there's a video about me going to a tournament later in the year. So yeah, I'm going to Confrontation 3. I will definitely be making videos in the run-up to that event, and I'll be recording some footage from the event itself and probably doing an after-event video. So look out for those. And thank you for the question. Okay, so next we have a question from Darth Bretticus, and he says, could the Borg take control of the Necrons or vice versa? What do you think about the new Eldar warp gate? Okay, so the first question, could the Borg take control of the Necrons? I don't think they could because of, well, Borgs like to assimilate organic material, and I don't think the Necrons really have that, so I think they might struggle. Could the Necrons take over the Borg? Probably not. I think they could probably do quite well at destroying them. I know they have their adaptive shields, etc., but I think the Necrons would probably overcome that quite easily. But I think, to be fair, I think they'd just be bored of each other. They probably would just ignore each other, maybe even form an alliance of some description. Who knows? But good question. Now, as for this new Eldar gate, I have seen it, and yeah, it's about time really. I've always said that Games Workshop have missed a trick regarding terrain for specific armies, especially Xenos armies, and of course it's nice to see these, and of course they come with rules. Now the rules I'm not too sure about, but the actual models, do I like them? I have to be honest, I don't like them that much. I think it's great that we have them. I like the size of them. The actual sort of arc section is typical of sort of a webway portal design. I'm not too keen on the intricate detail that's on there, really, to be fair. But it's great to see that they've made them, and I hope to get one day, not necessarily for my Eldar to play with, but for an Armies on Parade board, because I do one day want to take my Eldar to Armies on Parade, and I think that would be pretty cool to have one of those on there with maybe Wraith Knight sort of coming through there. So great questions, thank you for those. Okay, so the next question is from Capitan Morgan's Wargames, and he says, okay, so if the Daleks were ported into the 40k, what faction do you think they would be ported into? Or do you think they would be a faction on their own? I definitely think that they would be a faction on their own. I think it would be pretty cool to have a Dalek army. In actual fact, I have seen a converted Necron army made from Daleks. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, I do think there'd be a faction by themselves. I think that would be pretty cool to see. So thanks for the question, great question. Okay, so next is from Old Average Brit Gaming, and he says, are you interested in having your huge Kron army appear in White Dwarf as Army of the Month? If so, have you made inquiries? Thank you for the question, Nick. So I don't get White Dwarf anymore, so I'm not quite sure what they're up to in the magazine. I certainly haven't thought about submitting my army to them, but it is a thought, isn't it? Definitely I might inquire about that a little bit more. I don't know what the criteria is, to be fair, but yeah, it'd be interesting. I might have a look at that. Okay, so the next question is from Patrick Persiani. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he says, my biggest question is, when are we getting the Silent King? Well, Patrick, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. Will they even bring him back? What do you think? I hope so. It would be pretty cool to have him coming back, but I don't know whether we will or not. Don't think we'll be getting anything anytime soon. But yeah, it would be great if one day they did release a model with some cool rules. Okay, so the next question is from Pete, the Q&A master from Mini Warzone, and he says, do you have any favourite distraction units from any army? Great question, Pete, thank you for that. I'm going to stick with Necrons purely because I played them the most in 8th edition. I'm going to say Wraiths, Yes, they are a distraction unit. Just push those wraiths forward and watch your enemy panic. I love them. They are really, really good distraction unit. Now, of course, you may not necessarily be thinking of such an attacking unit. You may be thinking more of just a smaller little unit to distract. Death marks sort of fill that role. I have tried playing death marks in that role, just a small squad of 5. They don't really do a great deal, but then they don't cost a huge amount of points, and they can make quite a nice distraction unit. I think death marks are probably better in bigger units, really, especially if you want them to cause any damage. Okay, so the next question is from Underdog Painting, and he says, what or who inspired you to do your channel, and also what made you do the style of content and not just stick with 1 or 2 topics? Thank you for the question, Bazza. I was inspired to do YouTube by Fritz40k, or Wargamer Fritz as he's now known. Awesome guy and very inspirational, not just to me but to many YouTube channels. And in terms of my style, well, I didn't really have a style at the beginning. I started with battle reports, and then I did some army showcases, and then I did some painting projects. I basically just uploaded videos on whatever I was doing in the hobby, and that's not really changed that much. That's pretty much what I do. It's a hobby channel basically, so whatever hobby I'm doing transpires onto the channel. Okay, so the next question is from Victor Kess, and he says, what is the miniature you enjoyed the most when painting? What is the miniature that you suffered the most when assembling or painting? Great 2 questions, Victor, thank you. So, what miniature did I enjoy the most? That's a toughie. I can tell you that Tyranids is my favourite army to paint. I just really enjoy them. Such a simple paint scheme, quite easy to do. The black and then the yellow with all of the red highlights. Really, really cool. From those models that I painted, I would have to say probably my Doom of Melantai conversion that I did. I really enjoyed painting that. And when I'd finished painting it, I remember putting it down on the table and actually looking at it and being scared myself. It's like a bug and I just wanted to squash. So I'm going to say Doom of Melantai was my favourite model to paint. Least favourite to assemble or paint. That is a hard one. Least favourite. Least favourite. I'd probably say the guy sitting on the top of a Triarch Stalker. Yeah, I mean, I pre-painted him before I glued him on, but even then, that was a bit tricky, off memory. It's been a long time. I was going to say the monolith. The first monolith that I built, I had real trouble with, but then I built one not that long ago and it was fine. So I'm going to say the Triarch Stalker, the top of the Triarch Stalker, maybe. Yeah, great questions, thank you for that. Okay, so the next question is from Necron Names, and he says, after having some time with the new Necron Codex, which tactics are standing out the most for you? Good question. Of course, everyone loves the destroyers. However, I'm going to stick with my favourite, the wraiths. The stratagem where you can assault and charge is just awesome. Obviously, if you're taking it with the Novok, once you get into that assault, being able to re-roll the hits is awesome. Or you could take the Dynasty that lets you automatically advance 6 inches, which really does take advantage of that stratagem. So I'm going to say the Wraiths for me are the standout unit, and almost an auto-include unit into any Necron army. Yeah, so great question, thank you for that. Okay, so the next question is from Super Wargamer, and he says, when are the NID tactics videos coming out? Laugh out loud. Well, in actual fact, it may be sooner than you think, because I did a poll on which army people would like to see on the channel, and so far, Tyranids are a standout winner with around 50% of the votes. Eldar and Space Wolves are both running at around 25%, so quite a bit off. I'll link you up to the video there where you can place your vote for which army you'd like to see on the channel next. But it is looking like Tyranids, so quite possibly Tyranid tactic videos may be up soon. Okay, so the next question is from Love Minis, and he says, if I started a YouTube channel, would you watch? Would you give me help? Absolutely, Love Minis, because I love nothing more than watching startup YouTube channels and watching them grow. So I'd definitely be up for subscribing to you, watching your videos, and also helping you out. In actual fact, I'm not sure if you're already a member, but if you come over to Facebook and join the IDICBeer 40k Wargamers Unification Facebook group, in actual fact there's a bunch of people, 700 people in there at the moment, who'd be willing to help you out. So yeah, definitely head on over to the Wargamers Unification Facebook group, ask to be a member, and I will accept you. And yeah, I'll definitely watch your channel once you get it up and running. Okay, so the next question is from Instalky, probably. And he says, I am a big fan of Blood Bowl, and you have mentioned that you sometimes play it as well. Are you interested in making some Blood Bowl videos? Could you show your teams, talk about your experiences with the game a bit, etc.? Not asking for a full series, but maybe a couple of videos could be interesting. So, I'm going to put that question out to you guys. Would you like to see a couple of Blood Bowl videos? I do have a team. In actual fact, I've got 2 teams. And yeah, I play occasionally. I have to be honest, it's not my most favourite game. I find it a bit complicated, but I am getting there with the game. But yeah, would you like to see any Blood Bowl on the channel? Let me know in the comments box below. Okay, so the next question is from Nurgling, and he says, would you ever consider branching out to Age of Sigmar? Well, Age of Sigmar, I absolutely love the models. Obviously we've got Age of Sigmar version 2 coming out. It's going to be quite similar to 40k, maybe another excuse to get into it. But the truth is, no. I am sticking with 40k. I'm finding 40k is enough for me. I'm enjoying it enough, and I don't really have any reason to start Age of Sigmar or any other gaming system. So 40k all the way. And that is the last question. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Hit my icon at the end of the video to keep up to date with the wonders of Warhammer 40k. Beam me up.